This is Caroline with Cinema Hearts. We're live. We're going to interview her on the radio right now and on the podcast, but I want to share a little teaser so you can check out the episode for the full, the DCMusicRocks.com to get the full podcast, but then here she is. So
I'm not going to have time to share it. All right, here we go.
So here it is. There it is. That's Cinema Hearts, and the track is Fender Factory, and that's off Burned and Burnished.
Yes.
Which is the album that came out last year. Last year being 2017 from you
28.
guys.
Well,
20.
I guess,
Or
yeah.
something like that.
I don't remember what year it is. Yes, May 2017.
There's so much happening. I don't remember which one it is.
It feels like yesterday.
Right? It does. It's amazing how far time flies when you're having fun, for sure. And that's so Fender Factory is the name of the song.
Yes.
And what's that about?
I play electric guitar in Cinema Hearts, and that was about a time when my family and I went to visit the Fender Guitar Factory in California. And this was my idea. I was very excited to go. And when we got there to take a tour, the tour guide was kind of a jerk to me, and he was like, "Oh wow, you're a chick who plays guitar. It's so cool. Wow." And it was also
What
to put
a jerk.
to put into context, it was me, the most excited in my family to be there, and then a lot of older guys and then their wives who were brought along on the trip. So the whole tour, this tour guide kept quizzing me and being like, "Ooh, do you know what this pickup is? Do you know what this humdinger is? Do you know what this and that?"
Aww.
And so
How old were you?
I was 20. I was I was an adult. And
man.
yeah, and I just felt so ostracized and so isolated. I was in guitar heaven.
Sure.
At the actual factory where they make my guitar. And instead I felt like I wasn't part of the club. So I was so upset. I wrote this song, and now it's awesome because it's become an anthem for women in music and people who play guitar. And, you don't have to have people teasing you for what you do. You just show them what you want through song.
There it is, through song.
Yeah.
I was going to say, show that Fender Factory tour guide.
Actually, I should say
Show
also,
him.
Fender called me later.
Oh, yeah?
Years later, this past year, they called me to apologize and talk to me about women in music, and it was awesome. It was the coolest.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was the coolest
Props to
turnaround.
Fender.
Yeah, they heard the song, and they were they called up to say, "Hey, we're sorry that happened. That tour guide's actually not with us anymore.
Wow.
We have a new initiative to promote women in music," and it was the coolest thing. It was awesome.
All right. Well, let's give you a proper introduction here. So, on DC Music Rocks, we are shining a spotlight on the great songs, artists, and incredible people behind the DC region's music scene. A pageant queen fronts a rock and roll band. Yeah, that's Cinema Hearts. This is Caroline. How do you say it? Caroline Weinroth?
Caroline Weinroth.
Weinroth. Caroline Weinroth is the lead guitarist and singer for a Fairfax rock band called Cinema Hearts, and is also Miss Northern Virginia 2018.
Mm-hmm.
She is inspired by the music of doo-wop singers and surf guitarists from long ago, and the sound of Cinema Hearts is wistful yet feisty, with a pulsing passion for days gone by. So it's that classic. I mean, if you were listening to the show, you got the classic vibe that comes from the Cinema Hearts, and I've been tracking you guys for, it's been at least 2 years that I've been a fan. And so for me, there's just a little fanboy moment where it's oh my God, Caroline's in the studio with me right now.
Thank you.
Oh, this is cool. So thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be here. I was telling you, I listen to DC Music Rocks a lot.
Well,
yeah, it's the perfect driving music, or when you if you're cooking or something, you're just,
right.
You got an hour of time.
That's it. Well, I'm honored. I am honored. That is really cool. Well, so now reintroduce us to, the Cinema Hearts is how long ago? When did it start? How did it start?
Cinema Hearts started as my solo project, actually. I was always a singer. I did a lot of musical theater, but it wasn't really for me. So I was I want to be a singer, but I don't want to sing the karaoke tracks. I guess I better learn how to play guitar. So then I started learning how to play guitar, and then I started writing my own songs. And I actually recorded and released my first sort of demo EP. That was back in 2014, and I used to deliver that around to the record shops, and I had it on Bandcamp for a little bit. And then later on, I was I really want to start a band. I really want to, there's a different feeling when you have a drum kit behind you. I mean, you're a drummer, so I guess there's a different feeling when there's a drum kit in front of you.
But just as singers, I mean, when you're watching a guitarist, when you're watching a singer-songwriter, just a person with a guitar versus a whole band, it's a different experience.
It's a different,
I get it.
right.
Yeah.
So I really wanted that experience. So I asked my brother Eric to play bass in the band, and then he joined on. And we've had different friends drum for us over the years. And that's how Cinema Hearts began. We just actually I realized when I was driving over here to the WERA studios, one of our first shows at CD Cellar when it was here in Arlington.
Wow.
So yeah, like a block away. That was one of our first shows.
I'll say now, if they don't know CD Sellers, it's a music store.
Yeah,
in
it's a record shop
Arlington.
in Falls Church now. It's moved.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, it was a couple of our first shows were here in Arlington, and it's just been going since. And it's really rewarding that we can make a difference in the DC music scene and also be able to tour to different cities and have a presence nationally in a sense through the internet.
Do you? And so, what year did Cinema Hearts actually
Become
form?
a band?
Become a band?
I guess 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
And where does the name Cinema Hearts? What is that? Where does that come from?
So I used to work at a movie theater in Fairfax called Cinema Arts, and I worked there the summer before I went to college.
Oh.
And I used to practice guitar in the box office because there would be like long breaks when movies were showing.
Sure.
So I told my coworkers, if I ever start a band, I'll name it after this place. I'll call it Cinema Hearts. And they were like, okay, great. And then I started the band, and it's stuck since.
That's awesome. Oh my God. So it's named after a theater.
Yeah, it's named after a movie
and
theater.
is that still around? No,
yeah, it's
theaters?
in Fair City Mall in Fairfax, Virginia.
Nice. And is Fairfax home for you, I take it?
It is, yeah.
Nice. And all your life, or did you guys move here, transplant like a lot of people in DC?
I mean, I was born in Arlington and then moved to Fairfax. So I've been in Northern Virginia my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what about your earliest memory with music? What comes to mind?
My earliest memory of music, probably so when I was a kid, I don't know, 3 or 4, I'm sure my parents could tell you, I would sing all the time. And we had a fireplace in my house, and that was my stage. And I feel like there's probably a home movie or something. I would be singing, I don't know, a song from The Little Mermaid or some other cartoon on that stage. And I think my brother Eric would probably just be standing there next to me, just hanging out. But and that was our little performances.
Oh my God. And wait a minute. And now fast forward to now.
I know,
that's
forward
kind of a
now.
similar scene. He's standing next to you playing bass now.
Yeah, he plays bass, and Eric also does all our recordings. So he is actually a recording engineer.
Wow.
And he's
Well,
mixed the track you heard.
Boy,
Yeah.
talk about family skills here. You got singing, you got bass, you got guitar, you've got
both of us
mixing
record,
and
yeah.
audio. Wow. Good gracious.
I'm fortunate
awesome.
to be really. Eric's a year younger than me, so we've always been close. So.
That's awesome. Now, talk about you on the personal side then.
Mm-hmm.
Change gears here. So outside of music, what's it like for Caroline? What's life like?
So yeah, I also compete in pageants with the Miss America organization, and I do a lot of volunteer work with music advocacy and doing arts events, as we sort of mentioned earlier. So my platform is called Music Empowerment, and I'm really passionate about encouraging girls in music, and as you kind of said with DC Music Rocks, telling people there's so much local music, there's so many great things about our community that we can promote and support.
Uh-huh.
So I'm also really passionate about that. And I also go to school at George Mason University. I'm getting my master's in poetry creative writing. So
Poetry?
yeah.
I guess that's an interesting tie with songwriting then.
It
would be
is,
poetry
yeah.
creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you find that influences, does that go well with writing songs? Does some of that education tie over into your art, or does it is
Definitely.
separate?
I mean, in the sense where it's I would say any poems I write are structured very differently than how I would write a song. But the artistic concepts or the ways I would approach writing is very similar.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about now? I guess congratulations are in order because you are Miss Northern Virginia too.
Yeah,
You
I'm
brought
Miss-
up the pageant
I'm
thing.
Miss
Where are
Nova.
you? Talk about that. So you compete for Miss Virginia, or how's
Yes.
that? If people don't know about
Sure.
the pageant thing, what does that mean?
Yeah, so some people might know Miss America as that event that's on TV every year.
Okay.
But to get to that stage, you would have to win your state pageant. To get to your state pageant, you win a local pageant.
I
Yeah,
see.
so
Okay.
I've competed at the local level for a couple years. And this past February, I was crowned Miss Northern Virginia 2018. And my talent was playing electric guitar and singing an original song, actually.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. And then I competed in the Miss Virginia pageant this past June, and my talent was singing and playing guitar, but I did the Beatles Come Together.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was cool because my bandmates actually recorded and arranged a backing track for me. So it was
Oh, that's
arranged by my
awesome.
friend James Adelsberger, who's played drums for us, and then my brother Eric Weinroth did all the mixing. So it was like having my band on stage. It was a really incredible experience.
That's cool. How did you get any feedback when you were there?
I have so many people. They loved, because it's an unusual talent to have an electric guitarist play in a pageant. And it's also it was very hard for me to train for it because when I play a show with Cinema Hearts, it's like, it's my show. It's more relaxed. But in a pageant, it's like I'm wearing heels. I have to like smile to look right. You can't look down at your fingers to like play a solo because it doesn't really look as good on that stage. So I had to practice playing a solo like with my eyes closed. I would stare at like parts of my room so I could just get it down.
Wow.
And I practiced so hard and it worked and people loved it.
So did you feel when you walked off the stage, you were like, yep, I nailed it?
Yeah, because like walking on, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't, like I felt like my whole body kind of like freeze, and I was like, and then I heard like the music start, and I was like, I gotta go, like I gotta play it. And then it's like, it just like went blank. It's like a cool experience though, like.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really fun. And now I take it, so you'll be competing again next year, or what does the future look like? Are you going to continue to do that?
Yeah, so this is actually my last year to be able to compete for Miss America before I age out. Okay. And so I'll be actually competing for Miss Arlington next weekend. So I'm very excited for that.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
I hope later on we find, after people hear this later and like, oh, turns out she won that one too. That would be really cool.
We'll see.
From here. And so Fairfax is home, but you're competing in Mrs. Arlington, and you can compete in all the different.
Yeah, so all the local pageants in Virginia are what's called an open pageant. So it's open to any young woman who lives or works or goes to school in Virginia.
I see.
Yeah, and it's an awesome opportunity to like, I've been able to explore different parts of the state and actually competing in Miss America, Miss Virginia pageants, driving over the state, inspired the band to do a Virginia tour a year ago.
Yeah.
And I was able to visit those same towns where I had connections in through the pageant. So, so many people ask me, like, is it really hard to balance the two different worlds of, like, being in a pageant or being in a rock band? And I'm like, no, it's actually very, very similar. It's a lot of driving, it's a lot of talking to people. I still play guitar. You smile a lot.
It's so many same things, except one's music and one's, I guess, makeup and presentation and talking skills.
That can be your music, too.
Also true.
It depends on what kind of musician you are.
This is true.
So.
Well, now, so talk about then I got sidetracked with, we talked about Miss America, and I wanted to talk about that. And then talk about your funniest moment that comes to mind when you're on stage. What comes to mind?
Funniest moment when I'm on stage? Gosh. There was one time we played this was a couple years ago, we played a show at DC9, and I like broke a guitar string on stage, and it was mid-song. And I was like kind of nervous, and I like didn't really want to stop and change it because it's a process to change your guitar string. So I was like, I'll just keep going. I'll just go on to the next song. And I started, and it sounded so bad. It was like attitude. It was so bad. And I was like, we were already in the first verse, and I just stood to the mic, stop the show, stop, guys. And I literally said, does anyone here have a guitar I can borrow? Like, can someone change my strings? I'd play someone else's guitar. And, like, no one was volunteering. And I was like, there's 3 other guitarists here. Can someone just let me borrow a guitar? Unfortunately, like, someone let me borrow one. Yep. And then a friend of ours fortunately changed our strings. But it was, like, it was my diva moment of DC9. But.
I will, and, I will say with Fellow Craft, the other idea, too, if in all bands or musicians or whatever, it's good to have a plan B moment where, like, if the guitar string breaks, then I know that the bassist and I on drums can play What I Got by Sublime and I'll sing it or somebody will sing it while you change guitar string or something like that. So it's always good to have.
I think I did like an improvised spoken word while like
I'll say all that poetry experience you got.
They
there you go.
Did some beats in the background.
So good. Whatever you got to do. Because I mean, at this point, you've changed strings enough that you could talk and do it at the same time. So there you go.
Yeah, I can do it without looking down.
That's right. All that practice for the pageant.
Yeah.
You got lots of those skills. So what about it? Tell us about a time you tried and failed.
Tried and failed. I mean, gosh, I would actually say like, not to like, I know you were like, let's not talk about pageants the whole time, but like, it goes hand in hand, I think, with Cinema Hearts in a sense, because it's like, you work really hard for something, you might not win. So, like, I haven't won Miss Virginia. Like, you get called on stage, or you're on stage, your name doesn't get called, and you're like, oh, like, that's done. Like, all that months of work.
I'll say months of work.
Yeah, like, months of work, like, months of, like, having your friends be like, oh my gosh, you should totally, like, win. Oh my gosh, you would be great in Miss Virginia. And then it's, like, done.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you go back to real life. But it's, like, I would say that was, like, my biggest try and fail moment. But it's also, like, preparing me when, like, if I'm doing something with Cinema Hearts and it's like, oh, we're not booked for a certain show, or like, like one of our concerts isn't going the way I anticipated, like I've just learned like it's fine. Like it's gonna work out a-okay.
Yep. Your life will go on.
Right.
Everything will be good. God, that's really true. All right, so my favorite question to ask is if you could offer one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say it would be to make your own magic. Like,
Ooh, say more on
Yeah.
that. What does that mean?
I think for me, so when I was first starting Cinema Hearts and I was like looking for bandmates, I went to Facebook to like post for bandmates, looking for people. And I got so many like mean comments of people saying like, no one's going to listen to a band that's about like 60s girl groups. Like, no one's going to want to be in this band. Da, 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 da. And then, you know, I got band members. I started a band. Like, I didn't listen to them. I just decided to do it myself. When I was first looking for shows to play, for gigs to play, no one was really taking us seriously. So I was like, all right, I'm going to book my own show at school. I'm going to do it myself. I don't really, like, you don't have to let someone give you permission, you know?
Right. Oh, so true.
You can collaborate with friends or collaborate with other artists in the area and just make your own magic happen.
God, it really is. And making your own shows, and like if you want to play it, you can totally play it. Whatever you want to do. Now, for those folks who want to find out more about you and the awesome stuff you have going on in Cinema Hearts, where do they go to find you?
So you can find Cinema Hearts on our website, cinemahearts.com. And you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by looking up Cinema Hearts. We have videos on YouTube. We have music on Spotify and iTunes and Bandcamp.
All the places. And that website, one more time, was?
Cinemahearts.com.